وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِّنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوِ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. And when there comes to them information about public security or fear, they spread it around. Over here we see that the hypocrites and also those believers whose iman was not as strong, what would they do? That any time they would hear some news of peace, security, or of fear, what would they do? Immediately they would spread it. They would publicize it. Like for instance, we hear about something and what do? Immediately we call somebody. Did you know this happened? Did you know that happened? We send an email, we send a text message to everybody. So this is something that is common within people, especially those who don't have, you can say, calmness, and people who are very reactive. They have this habit that as soon as they hear something, they spread it immediately. We learned that the time between the Battle of Uhud and the Battle of Khandaq. So since after the Battle of Uhud, up until the Battle of Khandaq, it was a time of fear. I mentioned to you earlier in the Tafseer of Surah An-Nisa that how after the Battle of Uhud, so many events happened in which the Muslims suffered so much loss. The incident of Bi'r Ma'una, in which the 70 companions went and they were all killed. 3 Sahaba, they were captured. 2 of them were sold as slaves to the people of Mecca and they were killed brutally in Mecca. So a lot of things happened after the Battle of Uhud up until the time of the Battle of Khandaq. And it was a time of big fear for people. And during this time, a lot of rumors spread. A lot of rumors spread. The mushrikeen, they wanted to take revenge from the Muslims for the loss that they had suffered at Badr, because of which they came back at Uhud. And they had promised to come the year after as well. And every now and then, small skirmishes would take place between the Muslims and the mushrikeen. And the mushrikeen, they would also incite other people, the other tribes. And it wasn't just the mushrikeen, it was also the Yahud of Medina who would go to Makkah, elsewhere as well, in order to incite other people against the Muslims. Which is why at the Battle of Khandaq, what happened? It's also known as the Battle of Ahzab, that a lot of groups of people came fighting against the Muslims in order to completely destroy them. So during this time when there was a lot of danger, a lot of threats, if the people, they would hear like the slightest news even, immediately it would spread. Oh my God, these people are coming. Oh my God, these people are coming to attack us. This is happening. So-and-so got killed and so-and-so got captured. So with these news, with these rumors, sometimes they were false as well. Sometimes it's only, one piece of information and a person would magnify it too much, or he would add his own ideas, his own imagination to it as well, and it would become into a false rumor. So this would create a lot of chaos amongst the Muslims, a lot of fear amongst the Muslims. Or if it was a good news, it would give them false confidence. So this is something that is being prohibited over here, that if you just hear some news, don't just spread it. Don't do that. So over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ, and whenever it came to them, meaning whenever it came to their knowledge, who does them refer to? A group from among the hypocrites or among the feeble believers. When it comes to them, amrun, any affair, any matter. What does it mean by amrun? Any news concerning the Muslims. Which Muslims? Any news concerning them? The Muslims who were in Medina, or the Muslims who had been sent by the Prophet ﷺ as a raiding party. We learned earlier that فَانْفِرُوا ثُبَاتٍ أَوْ انْفِرُوا جَمِيعًا. So Thubatin was what? In small raiding parties. So if the Prophet ﷺ had sent a small raiding party, if any news concerning them came, that so-and-so got killed, or they were victorious, or they have been captured, or for instance, a group of people were advancing towards Medina. So any kind of news about the Muslims. And this kind of news was either min al-amn, of security, aw al-khawf, or fear. What does it mean by amn? Amn is from Hamza Mim Noon. Safety, security, peace, protection. So any news of security, how that the Subah that the Prophet ﷺ had sent was victorious. Awil khawf, or the fear that they were defeated, or the mushrikeen are coming to attack the Muslims. Or khawf can also be understood as the plan of the Prophet ﷺ to make an attack somewhere, or to go for a battle somewhere, to send an army of the Muslims somewhere. So any news of security or fear, what is the reaction of these weak people? أَذَاعُوا بِهِ, they spread it immediately. أَذَاعُوا is from the root letters ذَال, يَا, عَين, from the word ذَيْعٌ. And ذَيْع is to spread something, to make something known. And in particular, it is to reveal a secret. It is to reveal a secret, to broadcast a news that should not be broadcasted. You see, some information is public information. Everybody has the right to know it. It's relevant to everybody. And some other information, it may be relevant to everybody, but it's not necessary that everybody should be informed about it. Why? Because if they are, then either it's going to make them overconfident, or it's going to make them very fearful. Like, for example, for khawf, if somebody says, there's a bomb over here, and there's no evidence for that, you just think that this person walked in, and he has a bag, and you don't know what's in that bag, and you think that it's a bomb, and you spread that news within people, it's going to lead to so much chaos, so much fear. And if you think of it at a smaller scale, for example, at home, if parents, they tell their children, that we have this much money, this is how much money I have in my bank account, this is the goal that I have. So if parents tell their children, what's going to happen to the children? They're going to become so overconfident. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to study hard. And sometimes children become very proud. They begin to boast in front of their friends. My parents have so much money. And they think that they can buy whatever, they can use whatever, they can destroy whatever. They become very careless. So, yes, it's a good news. It's a news of aman, but it's going to make the other person overconfident. Similarly, if parents, if they tell their children all the time that I don't have money, I'm having a lot of difficulty at my work. Okay, if needed, you can tell children, if they're asking for too many things, and you can tell them, I'm sorry, we cannot afford this right now, we have to pay for this right now. And inshallah, within a few years, you'll be able to get this. That's okay. But if a person tells, I have only $10, I have only this much money, and I have to pay this, and I have to pay that, then children grow up with the sense of fear. They grow up with the sense of deprivation, that, oh my God, I don't have anything. So it's better to keep these kind of news away from children. Not tell them about these things. Why? Because it's either going to make them overconfident, or it's going to kill their confidence. It's going to kill their confidence. So it's always better to not tell your children about your financial position. This is the opinion of many people. And it works out really well. Because either it makes children overconfident, or it makes them lose their confidence completely. It shatters their confidence. They begin to think themselves as very miskeen. They compare themselves with their friends all the time. So anyway, so if this kind of news comes to these people, what do? أَذَاعُوا بِهِ, they spread it. So what is ida'ah? It is to broadcast a news that should not be broadcasted. It is to spread some information. It is to make some information known that should not be made known. It should not be made prominent. Now it doesn't mean you have to be secretive about everything, but min husn al-Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nihi. It is of the beauty of a person's Islam that he leaves all that does not concern him. The money is yours, it's not your child's. Is it going to benefit him at all just knowing that my parents have this much money? No. So أَذَاعُوا بِهِ, they broadcast it. And أَذَاعُوا بِهِ, they spread it how? According to their wrong interpretation. According to their incorrect interpretation. According to their wrong understanding. And as a result of this, what happens? They themselves do that which is incorrect. They take steps that are incorrect. And similarly, they also mislead other people. They weaken the spirits of the companions. They weaken the courage of other people around them. So أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ. And if they had returned it. Meaning, instead of spreading the news immediately, if they had kept quiet about it, and if they had returned it, meaning if they had referred this piece of information to who? إِلَى الرَّسُولِ, to the messenger, the Prophet ﷺ, وَإِلَى, and towards أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ, the leaders among them. So instead of spreading the news immediately, who should you report to? Who should you report to? The leader, the in charge. This is what I've heard, this is what's going on. Please take care of this matter. Like for example, as students, sometimes we hear some news. For example, we're going to have a test, or the assignment is due tomorrow, whereas the in charge said next week. So instead of just discussing amongst ourselves and creating the sense of fear and creating the sense of, they never tell us, they're so mean to us, what should you do? Go to your group in charge, go to the class in charge and ask them, is this correct? Or just tell them, this is what's going on. Please clarify. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that instead of spreading, if they had referred that news to the messenger and to the leaders amongst them, لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ, surely he would have known. Who would have known about it? الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ, those people who deduce it. Meaning they would have known its reality. They would have known whether that news was correct or not. They would have known whether that piece of information was correct or not. And if that piece of information is really beneficial or not. And who are they? الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ, those who deduce from them. Who does them refer to? The messenger and the ulul amr. That for among them, whoever is required to investigate that information, whoever is supposed to investigate about it, he would have known about it. About what? About its reality, about its relevancy. And if it was relevant, if it was truly something that actually happened, then they would have informed the people if it was necessary for the people to know. So basically what is being said is that instead of spreading the news yourself, report. And if it's correct, its authenticity is going to be verified. By who? By the in charge, by the leader. And similarly, its relevancy is also going to be decided. If it's relevant, if it's correct, if it's authentic, if it's real, then other people will be informed about it. And if it's not related to other people, then why bother them? Why confuse them? Why make them scared? Over here the word has been used, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ, those people who deduce it amongst them. Meaning those people who deduce its reality, its correctness, its relevancy among the messenger and among the ulul amr. The word يَسْتَنْبِطُونَ is from the root letters nun, bata, nabd. And nabd is to gush out. What does it mean to gush out? And nabata is the water that gushes out first from a freshly dug well. So just imagine a person is trying to dig a well. You're digging. And then immediately, suddenly what happens? Water comes forth. So the water that gushes forth first is called nabd. It is nabata. From this, istinbat is to go into the depth of something. It is to go into the depth of something and derive a conclusion. Istinbat is to go into the depth of something, to research the matter, and then deduce a solution, to come to a conclusion. So basically it is istikhraj. It is to discover the hidden meaning. It is to discover the hidden reality. How? By going deep into it. And istinbat is also a term that is used in fiqh. It is when a faqih, when a jurist, he derives issues, when he derives rulings through his research and investigation. So, لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ, that we see that even the in charge, the ulul amr, he is not going to say that as soon as he is reported, he publicizes. Even he is not supposed to do that. What is he supposed to do before telling everybody? Istinbat, verified. Is it really correct? Is it really authentic? Is it relevant? If it's relevant, okay. الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ. And had it not been the favor of Allah, the bounty of Allah, and His mercy, لَاتَّبَعْتُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Surely you would have followed the shaitan. Over here Allah says, وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. What is the fadl of Allah? The fadl over here refers to the Qur'an. Some have said it refers to the deen, Islam. And others have said that fadl over here refers to the leader. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was the Rasulullah ﷺ himself. And when the Prophet ﷺ would send groups of people, then it was their ulul amr. And now who is it? The leader for us. So وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Had it not been for this bounty of Allah, for this huge favor of Allah, that there is actually somebody in charge above you. What does this show to us? That the in charge, the leader, is actually a favor from Allah. Don't take the in charge, don't take the leader as a burden. That, oh my God, somebody is commanding us, somebody is telling us, and we can't do whatever we want to. No, it's such a huge favor of Allah. Because if people were left to do everything on their own, then what would happen? Without any organization, everything would be haphazard. It would be a complete chaos. People would have to fend for themselves. But it's a big favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed an ulul amr. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ. And His mercy. What does the rahmah refer to? It is said that rahmah refers to the blessing of Allah, the tawfiq of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to someone to follow the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. So had it not been the huge favor of Allah and His mercy, لَاتَّبَعْتُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ. You would have followed the shaitan. What does it mean by following the shaitan? First of all, إِذَاعَةً. Spreading the news. Publicizing the news. Because it was only some people who would spread the news. Everybody wouldn't. Some people. And secondly, it is said that لَاتَّبَعْتُمُ الشَّيْطَانِ means that you would have followed the shaitan in other aspects as well. Meaning whatever fawahish, whatever wrong ways shaitan commands you, you would have followed them. Just imagine, in the absence of wahi, in the absence of the Qur'an, in the absence of a leader, in the absence of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what would people do? What would they do? Obviously, they would have followed the shaitan. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, except only a few people. Only very few people would have remained correct. So what do we learn from this ayah? First of all, that unless a person has knowledge about something, he should not spread it. And before even spreading it, he should not make a decision. He should not give a judgment concerning what is going on. Like for instance, you come to the kitchen and there are dirty dishes on the counter. Now you had cleaned the kitchen before and you say, these people will never learn. And you get very upset that these people will never learn that they should also clean up their own mess. And you remember afterwards it was actually your dishes. So, unless and until a person has knowledge, he should not make a decision. And he should not pass on the information without verifying. And we also learn from this ayah that the person who is responsible, he should listen, he should try to understand, he should try to investigate, he should extract a result, and then let other people know. That even the person in authority, he should not just hear and pass on the information without verifying. He should also verify. And upon verification, then he must let it known to people, if it's necessary. We also learn that ulul amr are actually ulama. Ulul amr are who? They're actually ulama. They're actually the knowledgeable ones. Remember I mentioned to you earlier that wa ulil amri minkum, who are they? First of all, ulama, and secondly, umara, the amir, the leader. So who is a real leader in our deen? The one who has knowledge of the deen as well. You cannot appoint someone who is ignorant of the deen as your leader. Why? Because then he is going to mislead you. And over here, who are the ulul amr? الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ. Those people who investigate. Those people who research. How can a person research and investigate without having knowledge? So the real leaders are who? Who are they? The knowledgeable ones. So in order to be a leader, It's necessary that a person learns. We also learn from this ayah that a person should not spread rumors or say anything unless he has investigated and confirmed. The Prophet ﷺ said, كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَن يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ. Narrating everything that a person hears is sufficient to make a person a liar. You understand? That if a person, he just passes on every news, every information that he hears about, what does that mean? That he is a liar. That is sufficient to know that he is a liar. He doesn't care about what is true and what is false. Anything that he hears about, anything that he wishes to say, he says it, without caring about its correctness or falseness. So what do we learn? That just because we hear something, it doesn't mean we have to pass it on. Sometimes we're talking in our conversations, we don't care about what we're saying, if it's really correct. And we have to be very careful. Like for example, within girls, these kind of conversations happen a lot. About who's getting married and who's not getting married, who's engaged and who's expecting a baby, and these kind of things. And sometimes just because you see something, you make a whole judgment and you pass it around. And this is something that is incorrect. Similarly, you see someone is talking to someone and you assume that it's a boy or it's some non-mahram and you say, oh, this person is having an affair. So just because you heard, just because you learnt about it without verifying the information, you shouldn't pass it on. And if you pass it on, what does the hadith warn us about? That it is sufficient that a person is a liar. It is sufficient to declare such a person as a liar. Similarly, we learn from another hadith that whoever narrates a hadith while knowing it is false, while knowing it to be false, then he is one of the two liars. He is one of the two liars. Which two liars? The one who, first of all, invents the lie, and secondly, the one who spreads the lie. So even if a person spreads a lie, it's as if he is a liar. So we have to be very, very careful about the things that we talk about the information that we pass on to other people. Sometimes very casually we say, oh, this food is halal and this food is haram. Very casually. We think that we are the greatest muftis and we have the right to say what is halal and what is haram. Every little thing we will give a fatwa, without any verification. So we have to be extremely careful. We also learn from this ayah that following the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually a fadl of Allah. That if a person is given the tawfiq to follow the commands of Allah, what is it? It's a huge favor of Allah. It's a favor of Allah. It's not a person's own achievement.